So I want to tell you guys a little story here about how the populist left isn't just for some, it's for almost everybody. So, you know, if you've listened to Secular Talk for a long enough time, that we really, really believe in the message of Justice Democrats. And that's not, I mean, I co-founded the group. It was with Cenk Uygur, Shoykat Chakrabarti, and Zach Exley, who, by the way, they're top former Bernie Sanders campaign officials. And when it comes to the platform, it really is, the overwhelming majority of the stuff is stuff that the overwhelming majority of the American people agree with. There's only a handful of things on the platform that are not majority popular, and the reason why we added them is because, at least in my opinion, they were the correct constitutional perspective. So just to give one example, the death penalty. I think the death penalty still is majority favored in the U.S., but I would argue it's unconstitutional because the Eighth Amendment protects from cruel and unusual punishment. And if you're killing somebody, it is cruel and unusual, especially since, you know, the old death penalty formula that they use, the drug cocktail, they don't make that anymore. So now states are experimenting and people are foaming at the mouth before they die. And oh yeah, by the way, we kill the wrong people sometimes. So the overwhelming majority of stuff in the platform has an overwhelming majority of the American people behind it. And the few that don't, there are very, very good reasons as to why it's still included in the platform. So when we talk about Justice Democrats, oftentimes we make the mistake, myself included, of maybe being a little too smug and dismissive of people on the right. Because the reality is, when you give many people on the right, regular people on the right, the option of populist left, they go, I'm not sure I'm against that. So, I mean, Bernie Sanders, for example, is the most liked politician in the country. 61% of the American people like him. That means he's getting a lot of people who would self-describe as conservative to like him. You know, he won all the primaries and caucuses in the Midwest, whether it was Kentucky or like places like that. Bernie Sanders won, and he won overwhelmingly. And what was an interesting fact in the exit polls was that when you talk to people who self-described as conservative, even people who self-described as very conservative, they said, yeah, I voted for Bernie. Now, you might say, whoa, hold on now, but it is just a fact that Hillary Clinton is more conservative than Bernie Sanders. That's true. But the reality is most people don't look at politics in a label sense. So they don't categorize things as, okay, what is libertarian versus what is progressive versus what is conservative. They're just like, okay, let me listen to the people who are talking and figure out who I think is for me and who's genuine and who's authentic. And guess what? When you give people the option of populist left, many people, even on the right, go, yeah, I think I like that. So even if some people on the right may be somewhat socially conservative, they're willing to accept, left-wing politicians who would argue, you know what, on social issues, I want people to live and let live. You make your own choices. It's really none of the government's business. And they'll accept that because you could even make a conservative argument for that. You could say, hey, I'm just in favor of small government when it comes to social issues. So that's also a conservative position. People might say, well, a conservative position on social issues is to be strict on social issues and family values, and the government should get involved in your life and make decisions for women or whatever the case is. But no, you can get conservatives on your side if you say, look, it's just all about small government. You live and let live. You make your own decisions. I don't want the government button in your life unless it's an absolute necessity. But the key thing that really gets so many people with us is economic populism. So when you talk about Medicare for all, well, first of all, Medicare itself has a 77% popularity rating, one of the most popular government programs in the country. The only one that beats it is Social Security. But Medicare for All polls at 60% favorability, overwhelming majority, and there's very few people even arguing for it. Imagine if people were arguing for it and making the case. And even there are more Republicans that support Medicare for All than don't support it. So the point I'm trying to get at here is the potency of our ideas on the populist left. It's even more powerful than we imagined. Because you're not just going to get actual unity among people on the left. You're going to get many people in the center and many people on the right to go, you know what? I think they're authentic. I think they're real. And I kind of agree with them. Raising the minimum wage is another issue. 80% of the American people want it. A majority of Republicans want it as well. I'm telling you, you go down the list. Free college. That's another one where people on the right go, is that really that crazy when we have an education system where we have, basically free elementary school, free high school? That's what public schools are. They say, hey, why not have that option for college too, so we don't have massive student loan debt for no reason? So when we make the argument and we're unapologetic about it and we have a vision, people come to our side, which is why I was told something yesterday which really brightened my day, which is that Secular Talk's very own Lilith Penn, turns out her mother, who has been a Republican most of her life, if not all of her life, she's been listening to some stuff on Justice Democrats, and Lilith said she came up to her and said, hey, this Justice Democrats thing, I kind of like it. How do I sign up? That's exactly what we're doing this about, man. Look, it's not just us preaching to our own little bubble, people who already agree with us, who say, oh, aren't our ideas great? Yeah, our ideas are great. Aren't they great? Yeah, they're great. No, it's about branching out and building a winning coalition to really try to implement this vision for the future. Because we're not kidding when we say it's a vision that the overwhelming majority of the American people agree with. We just haven't had a Democratic Party that really represents those ideas, and we haven't had the best messengers for those ideas. Well, now that's what we're trying to build. We're trying to have people who rise up and they're unapologetic in saying, we're for Medicare for all. We want a single-payer healthcare system so we catch up to the rest of the modern world. In fact, we want to be number one in healthcare. We want to give everybody healthcare, and we want to pay less and have better outcomes. We can do that. That can be done. Hey, we want jobs. We want an infrastructure bill. We want a New Deal and create millions of jobs in a green technology, for example. This is what we're about. We want to have free college. We want to make the minimum wage a living wage and tie it to inflation. We want a thriving, strong middle class. And we're going to go to the policies that we know work on that front. And if you make that case and you're strong and you make clear, hey, we're not going to be bought by corporate donors and billionaires who want to derail these ideas, who want to water it down, who want you to sell out as a politician. If you're clear, we take no corporate money, no PAC money. We only take small donations from the people, and then we represent the people. Well, then people are going to come from all over the political spectrum because they can overlook even minor disagreements on some issues, like social issues, if they understand you're authentic and you're fighting for them and you're not bought. And that's exactly what Justice Democrats is about. And I cannot tell you how much those are the stories that make it all worth it. When we hear, you took a lifelong Republican and made him go, yeah, maybe the Fox News stuff and, the Rush Limbaugh stuff, maybe it's not really, maybe they're not looking out for me. Because when you listen to stuff on Justice Democrats, you read our platform, you hear our candidates speak, man, it's so obvious where they stand. There's no platitudes and cliches like Hillary's campaign and the corporate Democrats and, weeding through the bullshit to try to figure out what exactly do they say? Stronger together. I guess they're stronger together. Is that what she's for? Is that like, what are you going to do? Try to implement a policy where you write stronger together on the page and say, I am for the stronger together bill. Like, that's not a thing. So break down the barrier, stronger together, for good things against bad things, equality, fairness. That's a way for politicians to say stuff without actually saying stuff so that when they get elected, they can go behind the scenes and start doing the bidding of their donors. You don't need to guess anything with us, with Justice Democrats. You know exactly what we stand for. It's written out in that platform, and our candidates are going to remind you of it every 3 seconds. And you might, if you've been listening to it for a long time, you might, okay, I get it. It's a broken record. But think of how important it is that we get these ideas implemented and we get these policies implemented. And by the way, you know, sometimes I make some people mad in my audience who are to the left of me because I am stunningly and abysmally moderate and centrist and mediocre. So, like, what I'm talking about here is just a thriving social democracy, which doesn't, like, abolish capitalism. It's like, you know, if you have running a small business, or if you're in the middle class or you're a poor person, I don't want you burdened with regulations, and I don't want onerous taxes on you. I've often said I've never met a tax cut for the middle class or the poor that I didn't like. So, and again, some people in my audience are to the left of me, and they're there he goes again with his milquetoast, you know, international centrism. Guilty as charged. But I think the potency of those ideas cannot be defeated, especially in the context of the United States of America, where when you look at the polling, it looks like most people are with me on that. You know? You're not trying to overthrow the system completely, but you're trying to do a political revolution, not an actual revolution, a political revolution, which gets money out of politics and takes the basics that government should already take care of off the table. Healthcare, education, infrastructure, want to end the wars unnecessarily. There's some, again, conservatives can definitely get behind that. We've wasted trillions and trillions of dollars rebuilding Afghanistan and Iraq and killing people overseas. We had no business killing innocent people. And the government wants you to believe we should rebuild Kandahar, but we shouldn't rebuild Flint, Michigan, where people don't have clean water. I don't care where you fall on the political spectrum. You can see how absurd that is. So guess what? When we talk about the Republicans who are our enemies, I want to be clear about that. We're talking about the sellout Republican politicians, mostly in Washington. Obviously, at the state level, the elected officials have their issues too, and we'll call them out as well. But when I talk about the Republicans who are our enemies, it's the sellout politicians, the average Joe, regular working people across the country who say, hey, I'm conservative, hey, I'm a Republican. Look, we're going to get you on our side because you're going to learn, and you're going to learn quickly how we're for you. We're for regular people. We're for working people. And I think that message will work because it's accurate and it's correct. So they might not even know it. Like, oh, wait, these guys are looking out for us? You're going to know it soon enough. Just hear us out. Listen to our message. You'll see we're authentic. You'll see we're crystal clear where we stand. And we're already chipping away. You know, people who've been conservative or Republican their whole lives now going, no, I think I like Justice Democrats. Let's go with Justice Democrats. And this is what we mean when we say the corporate Democrats have to go away and it's our time. Because they want a Nancy Pelosi and Chuck Schumer and the Hillary Clinton. They want to say, whoa, we don't need to change the direction of the party one iota. We don't need to change it at all. We're good. Really? You just lost to Donald Trump. The guy has a honey badger on his head and Cheeto powder on his face. And he went around saying, I grab him by the pussy, I don't even wait, talking about women. And you couldn't beat that guy? The guy he's actually been in 2 softcore porns, by the way. You couldn't beat that guy. That's a scandal that would have tanked any other, presidential campaign in history. You couldn't beat that guy. The Republicans hold the Senate. The Republicans hold the House. They hold the majority of governorships and state legislatures. You couldn't beat those people? And you're going to tell me you don't need to change anything? No, you need to change everything. The corporatists need to get out of the party, and we need to have Justice Democrats rise up. Guys, go to justicedemocrats.com, sign your name in support of the movement. Let's get working. Support Paula Swearingen, the primary opponent of Joe Manchin, corporate Joe Manchin. PaulaJean2018.com is her site if you want to help her out. Vote Cori Bush, who's running against corporate Democrat Lacey Clay. VoteCoriBush.com is her website. And we're going to keep fighting, and we're going to win because of the potency of our ideas.